Good morning. I've just stepped off the ship here in the small town of Viviers, France. We've sailed up the Rhone River from Provence into the Ardèche and was looking forward to discovering a typical small town in France today and enjoying the pleasures of small town life, which we'll do. But I've already met with our guide for a few moments, and she shared some amazing World War II history of this town, and in fact of her very home. And so I look forward to discovering that as well, because I know you'll be interested. Let's go meet her now. Bonjour, Frances.
Bonjour, bonjour, comment ça va?
Oh, un, deux, trois, ça va bien,
Ça va
merci.
bien.
And thank you so much for showing us your beautiful town today.
Welcome to Vivier, a very unknown town in the Ardèche. Very quiet town. It's rather like a museum to the open sky.
Beautifully
I'm
said.
going to take you up towards the cathedral and on the way explain a few things about my town, the past, wartime, the present Vivier.
Oh, how, I mean,
You're very, very welcome. Suis-moi, follow me.
Suis-moi. You're also teaching me French. I look forward
It's
to
a
an
pleasure.
exciting day. Thank you.
Very nice to have you here.
Oh,
This is a beautiful little street.
what date are the houses we're looking at?
The oldest houses, there are two very, very old ones that would date to the 13th century.
Oh,
And you see there are steps everywhere, you see?
yes.
Because people feared the Rhone.
Oh, and it would
And
flood up
it
here.
would flood in the past a
And
lot.
we've been walking for
You've
15
been walking
minutes.
in a flood area, in fact.
Oh,
And you see they go up to the living quarters. And you'll see also the shutters are usually medieval red or the browns or the greys, the greens and the
Nice.
blues.
Yes.
Because these are the colours that are more slightly repellent to flies and mosquitoes.
now
You'll
I
never
have
see-
never heard, they're more repellent to
Yeah.
the, oh my goodness.
If you're lucky enough to have a horse, you'll paint the ceiling of the stable lavender blue.
Lavender blue to help with the horseflies.
Exactly. Well, you know, Jean, there are no shops in the old town. We have a market on Tuesday mornings, and we do have an old-fashioned butcher, charcuterie, because in the
I see
Ardèche,
it
well, you
here.
can see the saucisson. That's typical of this part of France, and typical from this part of France is the pâté with chestnut. It's very nice in there. You go in there and you sit down. There are chairs. You update on the gossip. Takes you about 2 hours to buy a lamb chop.
That's probably the same since medieval times.
Exactly. Nothing's changed here.
What a wonderful institution and delicious looking food. Maybe we can come back and shop.
Why not?
Where to next?
I think we should go now towards the Renaissance house of Vivier. Just to point out to you, Jean, this is the very, very old entrance.
Beautiful
And
door.
yes, very old. And it, in fact, was the house of the lord up the road. This was his mistress. She lived here. And we call her, either we call her Naughty Louise or Naughty Margot.
Well,
I feel a bit sorry for her, really, to go down in history as being called naughty or vilaine.
Naughty Louise did pretty well. This is a beautiful house.
She didn't do too well because the boyfriend lost his head. He was executed.
Well, perhaps not, but every house has a history.
Oh, and certainly here in Vivier. Let me show you the only decorated house in Vivier.
The only one.
Oh, the only one. You see, in the past, perhaps even still today in a way, you don't show your wealth. You know, little shutters, little windows. But this house, richly decorated,
Oh, I see.
has quite a story.
Let's sit down. I would
What a
like
good
to hear
idea.
it.
Now the house belonged, it's a huge house. It's all this in front, all this to the right. It belonged to a man called Noel Albera, who was a Catholic.
Naughty Louise's
Naughty Louise, you
supporter.
see, a supporter. And honestly, reading between the lines, I think he was a bit of a show-off.
I think that's
because
an understatement.
This front caused absolute scandal because, you know, you don't show your wealth. He was a salt importer from the Mediterranean. He was also tax collector for His Most Gracious Catholic Majesty, the King of France.
Oh, I think we see where the money may have come from.
You've got it right, Jean. He, in fact, you know, used the money. Anyway, he was out of favour. He converted to the Protestant faith, something to do with Louise, we're not sure.
What year?
When he was executed in 1568. When exactly he converted to the Protestant faith, I don't know.
Just seems very early. And to have bare-breasted women among his...
Well, those are the allegorical sort of busts. It's typical French Renaissance. You see, you've got the allegorical bust, you've got the acanthus leaves, which are typical of that time.
Yes.
You've got the different orders, Ionic, Doric, Corinthian.
Perhaps he traveled in Italy and was one of the early importers of the Renaissance.
He's definitely a Renaissance character. And he, in fact, converted, as I say, to the Protestant faith. And, of course, this caused uproar with the church. He was in trouble with the king over the money. Anyway, in the end, he was captured, put on a ship, a bit like you, really. Taken off to Toulouse.
Far from captured, but
where he was tried and beheaded for treason.
His monument stands.
The church moved in, took half his money. The king moved in, took the other half.
Every house has a story.
Exactly. And the house now belongs to Vivier. I really hope one day that the decorated part will be a museum. Then I hope we can, you know, restore the inside, restore the inner courtyard, and have something great to offer to visitors in the future.
I just hope many of our guests come to Vivier. As you said, not many people visit. It's a hidden gem, but
it is.
You're uncovering it stone by stone. What's next?
Oh, now we're going to make our way upwards towards the cathedral.
Andiamo? I was thinking in Italy. Excuse me.
Suis-moi, we say in French.
Suis-moi.
Suis.
This way.
This way. This is my house, Jean.
Oh, I love your door.
Yes, it's a nice old door. This is the original key. You could use it as a weapon if you wish. You're very welcome. This house has got a very nice history, you know. I've lived here now for 33 years, but in wartime, it was known as la Maison Sûre, the safe house.
In the Second World War?
In the Second World War.
So, a safe house for the resistance?
For the resistance and also for Jewish people escaping from Lyon.
Oh, how marvelous.
So it's got a very nice history and a nice feel to it. And, well, come in.
Thank you for letting us come in.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Not a very old house. Huh?
How old is it?
It was built around 1640.
Oh, not very old. 1640?
That's not old for Vivier.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you for inviting us in.
Not at all. So you make your way up the stairs.
I love the saddle.
Nobody rides anymore.
Oh, I can imagine horses up the cobblestone streets.
Oh, yes.
What a wonderful sound it would be. Your staircase. How many people have climbed these stairs?
Ah, that.
Stones speak.
Stones speak. They really do.
Oh, beautiful. This is your office?
No, this is just a little hall.
Beautiful, just a little hall.
Yes.
It's exquisite.
And through here I've got a little sitting room. If you want to have a look.
Oh, this is so beautiful. So much history. Oh. I feel like you've captured every century in your decorating, beautifully so.
I like collecting things.
Including the current one with the iPad.
Yes. Now, Would you like to see a tunnel?
A tunnel to where? Well, show me and tell me.
Well, I unblocked it, you know, because, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the garden is on the second floor.
Oh.
But if we go through the tunnel, we'll go down
I'd love
again
to see
here.
the tunnel. This is it?
This is it. So I unblocked all this, you see, because it was bricked in.
Oh, since the Second World War?
Because people wanted, I think, to forget, you know, put it out of their minds. And I've gone around unbricking and taking bricks out because I don't think people should forget.
Well, such an important part of the history of the town in France.
Follow me. Now, usually I have my candles lit here.
Ah.
I don't know if you want me to light them.
No, that's okay. The light's coming in here. I can see to safely walk.
Good.
So this is where I would have hidden if I was...
Yes, I put this door in. It didn't exist. I put the door in. And you come up into the garden today, yeah? Garden's very, very dry.
Oh, yeah, very dry. Still, your plants look healthy.
If you come here, you can see the Virgin of Vivier, the Madonna,
Oh, I see.
and then
Guarding you.
you can see through the olive trees, you can see the Archangel.
Ah,
So this is my garden.
this is beautiful. I'm still struck by the tunnel. How many lives must have been saved because of that
I
tunnel?
hope many, but you know, we don't know how many got away. I did meet one Jewish lady years and years and years ago. I think she's passed away now. And she had a lot to tell me.
Oh, I hope you're going to write it all down.
We'll sit down and we'll have a talk about it.
Oh, I would love to hear more. A very difficult period to talk about, but an important one to share.
I think very difficult because many people don't want to talk about it.
I think it's the time.
I think it's, yeah.
After a poignant visit to Francis's home, we walked through the town up to the highest point of Vivier. Here we saw the Cathedral of St. Vincent, standing guard over this village as it has since the 12th century.
And that is a Judas tree.
Oh, what
You know,
is a Judas tree?
Well, a Judas trees, in fact, grow wild in this part of France. But people like a Judas tree near a church, near a cathedral, because it's said that when Judas Iscariot, betrayed Christ, in remorse he killed himself by hanging himself from a tree, said to be a Judas tree, which is in flower at Easter. Always just the flower, and then the heart-shaped leaves come afterwards.
I see
that
the heart-shaped leaves.
The actual flowers represent the blood of Christ, and the heart-shaped leaves, charity.
I'd never heard of a Judas tree, and here it is right in front of the cathedral. The term's overused, but this is a hidden gem. I'm in love with Vivier, and I need to come back for a full week.
So this is, in fact, we call this last square Ormeau. Ormeau means elm tree. Because that, in fact, is it's a new elm tree, shall we say. We did have a beautiful old tree.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful passageway.
This is what we call the new entrance. Okay,
new entrance.
Yeah, it was built in 1660, mind you.
A much different perspective than I'm used to. The brand new entrance from 1660.
The bishop, of course, realized, he needed an entrance to be able to haul up all his material when he was building the Gothic part of the cathedral.
Of course. May we?
Mais oui, bien sûr. Now I'm going to show you something that will take your breath away.
Francis, you've been taking my breath away all morning walking through Vivier.
Oh, we haven't finished yet.
Oh. It is stunning.
It is a beautiful, beautiful view.
Oh.
And you have a view, you see, of the mountains, you have a view of this bridge, the cypress trees, the Bishop's Palace built in the 1730s, and above all, the statue on the rock there that was put up to thank the Allies.
This was put up after the Second World War.
In 1949, because we were rescued here by the Americans coming up from the south, and nobody was hurt here. And the people of Vivier, in gratitude, put that up. I have to say, he's not in stone. Everything here is in stone, but they couldn't afford anything else. He's in concrete. He's in concrete.
What a beautiful gesture.
I am saving to get him lit up at night by solar panels.
That'll be beautiful, but it's still a very meaningful gesture most Americans don't know about. So thank you for sharing it.
It's something I think of importance. And he's really gorgeous. You know, he's got his wings out.
Oh.
He's got his back to the Rhone because the Rhone is behind there.
It's behind here.
And he's protecting Vivier from all evil.
Beautifully thought of and a beautiful gesture. Thank you.
Mind you, I'm not taking you up there.
Thank you.
Because there's no path. You have to clamber up.
I think you could make it. Maybe I couldn't.
Shall we go?
Yes.
So this is a steep. For our full day excursion, we bring guests up here because it is a unique part of the Ardèche. It's called Les Gorges.
The gorge.
Gorge, in fact, means throat in French.
Throat.
Yes.
And
the throat of the river.
The throat
So it's
of
the river Ardèche in the Ardèche department, and this is the highest point. You see, so it's a very, very good viewpoint, and you see people canoeing.
It's beautiful.
And
Kayaking.
it's always the same thing up here. You know, there were no roads in the past. And many, many years ago, in the 13th century, 12th century, the Knights Templar were up here. Hiding away their sick. You know, coming back from the Crusades or coming back from their journeys, they would bring up here people they suspected of having leprosy. So there's a leper colony down in the gorge. Yes.
So much history.
Yeah, because you know the town of Vivier, the port of Vivier, had a visit from Cardinal Richelieu.
Oh.
And the people of Vivier were very Protestant at one stage, Protestant-minded. So they came, of course, up into the gorge to hide. And then in the last war, there again, it was resistance country. These roads didn't exist, you see.
Ah, so this was resistance country.
This was resistance country.
Safe hiding places.
Safe hiding places. And there are grottos and caves everywhere, and I think we have still perhaps quite a few to discover. The last discovery was in December 1994.
Oh.
When we discovered the cave with paintings. I can go into more
Paintings
detail.
from what period?
32,000 BC.
Oh.
32,000 BC, so they're older than Lascaux, older than Altamira, and we've had to build, as in Lascaux, a replica. But it is a beautiful view.
But so we've gone prehistory.
We've gone prehistory.
Current.
And we have.
It's wonderful. Thank you for sharing it.
Not at all.
After viewing the stunning Ardèche Gorge with Francis, we drove along the Route des Gorges to an auberge right next to another natural wonder, the Pont d'Arc, or Natural Bridge. This rural French restaurant has always received rave reviews from Viking guests on the excursion, and I was just about to find out why.
Have you tried this aperitif?
I have not. And what is it?
Well, first of all, cheers. Avant
Santé.
santé.
Ah,
This is a little bit of chestnut liqueur with cold white wine. It's called a castagnou in the local language.
santé. It's a very unique taste.
It's very nice.
I like it.
I have to say, if you drink 3 or 4, things happen.
Well, let's go for it. I think wherever we go with you, Frances, things happen.
I don't know quite, but still. And try this tapenade.
So
That is
local
also-
tapenade.
It's a black olive with garlic, perhaps a trace of anchovy if you like fish, sometimes a little anchovy.
Okay.
Bon appetit. Good.
Things are happening.
Well, we haven't finished yet, Jean.
Oh, you promised alarming amounts of rosé as well.
It's coming very slowly, but here's the first carafe.
I work on this first.
This rosé, you know, is very pale because the wine has very little contact. You know, the wine has pumped through the skin, and there maybe just a few hours. You see, so it's very, very pale. If you leave it 3 weeks, it'll be a rouge. But if you leave it 24 hours, it'll be a rosé.
I love the way you caress the curry.
Oh yes, very fond of this wine. Yeah.
Well, I want to learn more about the wine, but really what I want to hear, you said you have some stories of Vivier during the Second World War, and I'd love if you could share a few.
Yes, I think to understand Vivier in the time of the occupation really is to grasp what happened in general. You know, we were under Vichy, the French government that was installed in the town of Vichy, sort of more or less in the middle of France. So everything above that town really was considered the Third Reich. Everything below was sort of Free France, as I think I told you before. And this government lasted about 4 years. But then this treaty of Vichy sort of fell through, and the
What
Nazis
year?
occupied, 42, occupied the whole of the Rhone Valley. Because don't forget, down the Rhone Valley, at the bottom of the Rhone Valley, you have Marseille, and Marseille is the gate to Africa. And Marseille, of course, was taken over. Arles was taken over and was a very difficult town for the Allies to get back. There was tremendous resistance in Arles because it's the first town on the Rhone. It's the key to the Rhone. And
Why were they interested in Vivier, though?
That's a very good question. They wouldn't have been interested in Vivier at all, the Nazis. It's the cement that attracted them. Because we have Lafarge cement works just outside Vivier. In fact, Lafarge originally came from Vivier. They're an old family from Vivier. Pavan Lafarge, and they owned land. They were a tremendously Catholic, proper Catholic family from Vivier. And the Nazis, of course, were interested in the cement works. They needed to take over the main cement works in France. So that's why there was such a lot of anguish in Vivier, because you know what with the bridge and what with the.
You had mentioned your friend who lived in your
Yes,
home.
so in my house, I became great friends with her. She died when she was 96. During the occupation, she was 38, 39 years old, and she would never talk about it. This is the strange thing in Vivier, nobody will talk. I'm very lucky, I speak Spanish, and my neighbor is Spanish. She was about 30 odd as well during the occupation, and she came, she had some really authentic, she wasn't worried about talking because she was Spanish. But French people won't talk.
Still to this?
Still today.
That's
In
very
fact,
interesting.
My colleague, Jeanette, we were talking about it the other day, and we both agree it's very difficult. I've had to really sort of listen and make myself a little bit known. But this woman, she lived at the top of my house, and she was a very quiet, lonely lady.
Lived alone.
A spinster, living alone, not married. Never heard of a man. Very little lady, very mouse-like. You know,
Merci.
really meek type of person. You wouldn't have thought her possible of doing anything. She was up to every trick in the book. And she helped people.
And the tunnel in your home?
The tunnel at home, well, the tunnel was blocked up. She bricked it in. She bricked in like she wanted to put out of her mind, you know?
You mean after the war?
After the war.
But it reminds me of the woman in Monuments Men movie
Yes.
that helped
Yes.
quietly, mouse-like,
Yes.
to
Yes.
record where all
Yes.
the art was going. She sounds very similar, just unsuspecting to the Nazis.
Yes. And also, in the town not far away from here, there's an elderly gentleman who's very sadly gone. He was brilliant. Here again, a mousy little character. In his town hall, in the corner, a little clerk in the corner. And he was quietly forging. He forged hundreds of laissez-passer papers for Jewish people. Hundreds. Never found out in his corner. But this Jewish lady who I met, she must have been about 18 years old in those days. She's very sadly gone now. When she eventually got back to Israel, she knew that she was in Israel thanks to him. And she really went about being recognized, you know.
Oh.
And years after the war, we had a great celebration. And the rabbi came from Geneva, I can't tell you the goings on. And he was awarded the Medal of the Just, the Médaille de Juste in French, which is a tremendous honor. And there he was, a neat little man, you know, the same as this friend of mine, the same type of person, quiet, you know, sort of.
You must write a book. These stories need to be saved for posterity. It brings.
He looked quite perplexed, you know, getting this medal. And I said to him, you know, how could you stand this strain? How could you be sitting in a corner? You know, your parents didn't know, nobody knew. Nobody knew. And he said, I have a life to live, and I have my conscience to deal with. And this was something I did so that I would have a clean conscience after the war. Brilliant, huh?
It's brilliant and a message to live by. Well, I know you have many more stories,
yes.
and I've told you I'm coming back to help you write your book because I think these need to be shared, and they do give us a fuller picture of what life was like during the war, during the occupation, and at the trial afterwards. Thank you for sharing.
Not at all.
I know it was difficult. Maybe we should switch to
another subject.
The wonderful food
Yes.
and the alarming amounts of rosé.
The amounts of rosé that we drink here. At least I'm honest about it.
After lunch, our explorations of the Ardèche resume in the beautiful village of Vogue, situated on the banks of the Ardèche River. Vogue has been called the most picturesque village in France. For me, the luxury was the opportunity to explore it without crowds of visitors. For the moment, it is still virtually undiscovered. Francis, you've brought us to another beautiful medieval village here in the Ardèche, an undiscovered gem, which I fear will be discovered very soon, but for now, we have it almost to ourselves. The name of the town you have taught me is Vogue. Vogue. Spelled like the magazine, but nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
Do you want to share a little history of this magnificent castle that dominates the entire town?
It does. You see, the village, in fact, sort of nestles underneath the castle, which used to be a type of fortress. And then over the years, was turned into a Renaissance, a very nice Renaissance chateau. And it is the seat of the family called the Marquesses of Vogue. They still exist today. The family Vogue still exists all over France. It's a very large family. And one cannot but admire them because they have done so much for France. All over the years, the centuries,
Through
their
the
history.
centuries.
Through the centuries.
What has the family done?
In times of war, in times of great sacrifice, they've loved their country, really. And just, of course, more recently, the last war, One of them was a great person in the resistance, of course. And, well, you know, Dom Pérignon and the Clicquot, well,
names
that's
I do
something to do
recognize.
with the Vogue people. And I think really, admiring them, I like their family motto.
What is
Because
the family motto?
the family motto is a very strange one. It's,
Okay.
I frighten lions with one cry.
I frighten lions with one cry. So I'll assume their coat of arms is...
It's a little strange. It's a cockerel.
Perhaps he could frighten lions with
Ah,
one cry, but
well.
it's a beautiful motto.
It is. And
A gentle one.
it suits them.
Should we go explore?
Suis-moi. Let's go and have a look around,
Yes.
and I'll show you where we had our flood.
So what's the name of this road?
It's called Rue des Puces. Puce means fleas.
And
So it's called
because
the-
it's tiny?
No, I think it's the fact that it's so extremely narrow that in the past, if you met somebody, you're going up, somebody coming down, you might catch his or her fleas.
Do you have fleas?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And you don't either, so
Oh, thank you. How
let's
kind.
go up the Rue des Puces.
Rue des Puces.
The Rue
After
des
you,
Puces,
madam.
the flea road. It's very narrow. Yes, I suppose you could catch somebody's fleas coming down.
I think so, but it's cool on this
It's
very hot
very
day.
nice, and it's also very clean.
I think I could stay in here a few minutes.
Said to be the narrowest road in France.
All of France.
All of France. That's what they say. We're out of the
We made it.
Rue des Puces.
Rue des Puces.
Yes.
I've learned something very new, that neither of us have fleas. Frances, you told me there's some historical significance to this bridge.
Yes.
Could you share it?
Yes, of course. Like us in my town, the bridge had to be put out of use. And in August 1944, the resistance, the local resistance, had to destroy their own bridge. Because, you know, they were trying to, I presume, we understand, they were trying to stop the Nazis from getting into certain
And
positions.
this would close it off. You can see
Exactly.
very clearly
Exactly.
where they've
So in
rebuilt
fact, we
it.
can cross the bridge, if you like, to get a better view.
I would.
Good.
Can we go up there?
Of course we can.
Thank you.
Let's go.
This is the bridge.
This is the bridge, yes, that had to be destroyed. You see the resistance, you know, it's rather like where I live. They were compelled to destroy their own bridge. But they were war years, you know.
But may have saved the village.
Exactly. But you do get the most beautiful view of this. I
Oh.
mean, it is a charming village.
Beautiful.
And a lot of restoration has gone on, and it's become also very, very popular. You know,
Well, it's another
Holiday.
undiscovered gem that's about
it
to
is.
be discovered.
It is. It's quite true.
Our day with Frances was filled with history, natural wonders, wonderful food, and as Frances taught us, alarming amounts of rosé. But even with all that, the highlight by far was Frances. She personifies the joie de vivre I aspire to emulate. As the day wore on, she began to share more tidbits of her amazing life, always with a wry smile and a hint of devilishness that let us know there was much more to learn. But for today, I am so thankful for the time we had with her. A bientôt, Frances, and thank you for sharing all you do with Viking Guest.